Speedweek is next. Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins, and we are live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And in the next half hour, we'll bring you up to date on what happened here today, and not very much did happen today, plus what's happened this past week in the wonderful world of motorsports. Well, it started raining here in Indianapolis this morning. It rained hard until noon, then it stopped, and they almost got the track dried, but then at 4:30 it was determined they couldn't get it dried, and the track was closed down for the day. No qualifications will run for the pole at noon tomorrow, Indianapolis time. Now, what this has done is given everybody a chance to think about what happened yesterday here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Friday, May the 11th, 1990 is being called by some the most spectacular day in the history of the Speedway. Rick Mears was the first to indicate he would try to win his 6th pole by upping the unofficial track record to 226.3, but then went even faster late in the day, 226.6. Unbelievably, that would end up 3rd best. Defending 500 champion Emerson Fittipaldi with less than 2 hours to go clocked at 227.1. Team Penske appeared to have a lock on the pole. But then, in the final hour, Al Unser Jr. went faster than any man has ever gone before, unofficially, of course, 228.5, putting him in the spotlight as the pole favorite.
Well, really, the only thing that's pretty much gotten me is the TV cameras are in front of my shop now instead of over in front of anybody else's shop, and so the pressures are a little bit different, but I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good about my car and my whole team, and you know, everything's going right, and I just hope it keeps going.
3 drivers crashed yesterday. Rookie Jeff Wood hit the first turn wall, but damage wasn't extensive. Moments later, another rookie, Jeff Andretti, apparently spun in some oil into the 4th turn concrete. Like Wood, Jeff was uninjured. His damage was more severe. The most spectacular crash of the month occurred in the final half hour when Jim Crawford hit the first turn wall. Then as the car slid across the track, it became airborne, flying 15 feet in the air before crashing to the ground and sliding to the infield. After several minutes, Crawford climbed out of the car and walked to the ambulance. X-rays proved negative at Methodist Hospital, but he has not been cleared to drive yet. Michael Andretti, who was following at the time, had a bird's-eye view of the accident.
He became a pilot. That's what I saw. I mean, that thing just went up just like an airplane. It was just unbelievable. I felt like I was looking straight up at him, wondering which way he was going to come down so I could make my decision on which way to go to miss him. So that was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. Thank God he came out of it all right. I thought for sure he was going to have some sort of back injury from the fall, you know, but thank God he walked away.
An awesome crash. Well, before yesterday's activity, the big story was what was causing the crashes of the '89 and older cars here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Late Monday afternoon, Billy Vukovich III slammed the first turn wall. The 1988 Rookie of the Year, driving a year-old Lola Buick for Himmelgarn Racing, suffered only a slight concussion. Earlier in the day, his teammate Buddy Lazier had also made wall contact in turn 4. Tuesday afternoon, Steve Chassis in an '87 Lola chassis has a severe push going into turn 3, and he hits the wall. Steve was taken to the infield medical center where he was examined and released. On Wednesday, turn 3 also proved to be unkind to Johnny Rutherford. Johnny is trying for his 25th Indy start, and his 1989 Stoops Racing Lola is a write-off. Now, new rules for this year require all cars to carry a 2-inch insert in the car's exit tunnel area called a diffuser. Is this new diffuser causing the crashes?
The 90 cars have been designed around that rule. So they incorporate that rule, and they have designed a car that is very, very effective and very quick. At this point, I would say the diffusers in the older cars are creating some problems.
People are going to have to realize that this is supposed to be a fair sport and the same for everybody. You know, and if you're going to run a 1989 car here, and you ran it last year here, then why not run it as it was designed to run, rather than installing something that was against its design challenge here?
Well, on Thursday, Granatelli and several of the other car owners went to the United States Auto Club to ask for a rule change. But USAC said not all 1989 car owners were having the trouble and that there would be no rule changes for this year. Well, one of the guys who remains a favorite to win the pole here tomorrow at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is standing by in the garage area with our Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Bob. You know, when you talk about speed here in Indianapolis, you have to use the name Rick Mears. Now, Rick Mears having qualified on the pole 5 times, including the past 2 years in a row. Now, Rick, in the past couple of years, you've been the favorite to sit on the pole in Indianapolis, and that's probably put a lot of pressure on you. But some guys took the pressure off yesterday by the name of Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi. Their laps quicker than yours. Can you relax a little bit now as far as the pole?
Well, not really. It doesn't really change it any, and whether we were the favorite for it or not, I would still feel the same. You know, we go out there to sit on the pole and run as fast as we can, and that's the name of the game here. So whether we would be a favorite or not, it wouldn't make any difference. We do want to sit on the pole, period.
They were hoping to slow the cars down this year, but yet we're talking the speeds of 228.5 for Al Unser, yours at 226.5. Any predictions on what we might see for pole qualifying?
It's really going to depend on the day, you know, what the weather conditions are like, what the track conditions are like. If it's a cool, overcast day with no wind, the speeds are going to be right back up there. If it's a hot day and windy, they may not get that high. So it's really going to depend on the day we have. And as far as the rules go, trying to slow them down, they did work, even though we're running fast. Because if they wouldn't have made those changes, we'd be running 230 or better.
Now, you actually did the testing on the diffuser, came here and tested the cars, and what is your feeling about it? Obviously, you were able to do some work on the car after testing and make the car fairly stable.
Well, really, you know, we did that test, and I really don't believe in all that's being said about it because I sat in it. I know what it felt like. We put the diffusers in. It took away some downforce, which is why they were put in, the reason for it. And then we had to start making adjustments with the chassis. It didn't really affect the balance that much. It's just a matter of dialing the car back into that. You have to change the settings. And within, you know, 4 or 5 changes, we had the thing running 219 again. And so I don't, and only because I sat in it and I did the test, I don't believe all that's being said about it.
Well, obviously, some of the people have it figured out, and others don't, the ones that have bounced off the wall a little bit. But there are some teams that really have figured out what to do with the diffuser to make the car fairly stable here.
Well, that's the name of the game. If this, you know, this business isn't easy, and you have to try to figure new ways to get an advantage in one way or another to, you know, in the setting, to get the car balanced a little bit better or to get more grip somehow. And it's work. It's hard work, and you have to stay after it and work hard at it.
Speaking of working hard, now we got the super team again this year for Roger Penske, and a lot of people were saying maybe with three world champions and 3 former Indy winners, it's going to be tough to keep this thing going. But is it been a distraction, or has it been really a help having Immo now as part of the team?
Oh, it's definitely a plus. You know, Emerson hasn't accomplished what he's accomplished throughout his lifetime by not being good. So, you know, he brings a lot to the team in that respect. He's a great asset to the team. And as far as, you know, the distraction or whatever, the team, the guys in England put the cars together and got them to us as early as we've had them in a long time. And the guys here stepped up, got everything organized, and going into Phoenix, we were probably better prepared than we have been in a long time.
Indeed, they were prepared at Phoenix. Of course, Rick Mears having won at Phoenix, and tomorrow we'll see what he'll do here, along with teammates Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi. Pole speed, anyone's guess. Bob?
All right, thank you very much, Jerry, and good luck, Rick, when we run for the pole tomorrow here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Speedweek is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge. And by Levi's 505 and 506 jeans.
ESPN will have live coverage of tomorrow's time trials from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway beginning at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Don't miss all the action.
Different victory lanes. In 1970 and 71 at the south end of the pits. In 1978 just beneath the Tower Terrace. And in 1987 on the new lift in the pit area.
Welcome back to Speed Week, and we are live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a very rainy Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Winston Cup drivers have the weekend off, but several of them visited here this past weekend, including Ken Schrader, Rusty Wallace, and Richard Petty. Now, Dale Earnhardt, who's been quoted as saying he'd like to try his hand at Indy cars, remains the points leader in Winston Cup competition. And you know, if it hadn't been for running over an object with less than a quarter of a lap to go during the Daytona 500, he would be going for the Winston Million in 2 weeks at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Last Sunday in the Winston 500, Dale hooked up with two other Chevy Luminas driven by Ken Schrader and Greg Sachs, and those three cars virtually left the rest of the field in the dust. Surprise Daytona winner Derek Cope was the first out with a blown engine. Now he's still eligible for the Winston Million, but will have to win both Charlotte and Darlington. Schrader also fell victim to problems late in the event, leaving Earnhardt and Sachs to decide among themselves who would win.
When Schrader had his problems, Greg and I worked real well getting through the traffic, and if it wasn't for Greg, we probably wouldn't have run away from him like that. Greg worked real well with me. We had talked about it on the caution that we could run faster with me in front, and that's what we had decided to do after that last caution, is try to run away from the field, and we did. And leave it to racing one-on-one, and I'm glad it was a two-car race. If it had some help behind him, I'd have lost.
But as it turned out, Dale won, and now he becomes eligible for the Winston Million. And considering the way he ran at Daytona and Talladega, R.J. Reynolds maybe should think about getting a withdrawal slip ready.
The Busch Grand National cars were at Nazareth, Pennsylvania today. Jimmy Hensley was the winner. Dave Rezendes continued his hot streak by finishing second. Chuck Bound was third. Kyle Petty had a bad crash during the race, but he was uninjured. Well, last week at Talladega marked the end of a very long and prosperous career for one Winston Cup employee, Harold Kinder, the flagman. Harold needs surgery on his arthritic knees, and so he's decided to turn the flags over to Doyle Ford. Wednesday, the starter stand at Charlotte Motor Speedway was officially named the Kinder Stand in honor of this long and dedicated employee of the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit.
Good job, Harold. I've been planning for this a good while, but I just never got around to doing it.
Got your lake picked out?
Yeah, sure have. I got one, a big one, Ocean.
Well, Harold says that he's going to do what he's wanted to do all those years while he was in the flag stand, like play some golf. Well, now turning to IMSA Camel GT Racing. History was made over the weekend as the Dan Gurney Eagle Toyota team won its first ever GTP race, and they beat, among others, both the new and the old Nissans.
2 years ago, the Gurney Eagle was tested for the first time at Willow Springs Raceway in California.
We see a lot of things that we have to improve and make changes, but we also see that the basic potential of the car is terrific, and we're very, very pleased about it.
Last weekend, over a year and 21 races later, the number 99 Toyota of Juan Manuel Fangio had captured the pole for IMSA's Grand Prix of the Heartland, the second in a row for the team. Now, they've had a reputation of being fast, but had a problem running strong consistently. And Gurney had to be wondering when his team's time would come. The all-new Nissan NPT90, which we showed you last week, was qualified second by Derek Daly, but had a tough time trying to keep pace with Fangio, eventually finishing 8th. With the Toyota running away from the rest of the field, Jeff Brabham got into the older Nissan ZXT on lap 41, replacing Chip Robinson. Jeff re-entered the race in third behind Fangio and Bernard Jourdain. After getting around Jourdain, the Camel GT champion whittled Fangio's lead down from 12 seconds to less than 2, but could do no more. He ran out of time. Fangio led from start to finish and recorded the first GTP win for both himself and the Gurney Toyota team.
These come so rarely. I'm sure it's going to sink in as the days go by. It's just, it's wonderful that Juan was able to win the first GTP Eagle race for us, and it's just terrific. That's all.
Well, Bo Jackson may know sports, but Dan Gurney knows a thing or two about racing. Either as a driver or car owner, he's won in the following divisions: Formula One, Indy cars, NASCAR, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, sports cars, Formula Ford, Can-Am, Trans Am, Formula 5000, IMSA GTU, GTO, and now IMSA GTP. What a career for Dan Gurney. You know, a Make-A-Wish Foundation is known for granting special wishes to children with terminally illnesses. And when the foundation heard that 15-year-old Sean Knoll from Grafton, Massachusetts wanted to ride with off-road champion Ivan the Iron Man Stewart, they put the wheels in motion. Marty Reed has the story.
15-year-old Sean Knoll had never seen the desert outside of Las Vegas until now, when he was going to get a close-up look with his favorite driver, Ivan Stewart.
You get her? Yeah, almost set. All ready? See you later.
Ivan took Sean in his Toyota pre-runner over some of the same cores used for this year's Nissan 400, a race the Iron Man won.
Checkpoint 1. So you come around here, check
turn. They make you stop right here. They put a little piece of paper like a ticket inside a can. And that proves you were here.
Throughout, Sean watched as Ivan shifted gears, explained the terrain, and showed the 15-year-old just how rough off-road racing can be. And when the two took their first break, Sean, understandably, was a little speechless.
Was it fun? Did you have a good time?
I had a blast.
Was it what you thought it would be, or?
Yeah.
And the Iron Man softened when asked how he felt about making someone's dream come true.
Well, it really does. It's several different emotions. One is very fortunate. I have 3 boys that don't have any kind of illnesses, and very grateful that somebody would ask Ivan Stewart to give him a ride in my pre-run vehicle. That's great.
And with that, the two newfound friends jumped back into the truck and headed out into the desert to share another ride and a piece of each other's life. Marty Reed reporting for Speedweek.
Well, Ivan could not give the desert to Sean to take home, but he did give him one of his video games.
Just at the largest one-year gain in speed at Indianapolis, his 4-lap average of 195.940 miles an hour shattered Peter Revson's 1971 standard by more than 17 miles an hour. And it was more than 25 miles an hour faster than Bobby's brother Al's pole speed just 2 years earlier.
Welcome back live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Speed Week. The activity here today was completely washed out. The track was closed about 4:30. They will qualify for the pole starting at noon tomorrow. Well, after a month off, the Formula One set is back in action this weekend in Imola, Italy. And rumors out of that area have Nigel Mansell and Alain Prost not getting along too well. It seems that Mansell is reportedly unhappy that Prost is obtaining preferential treatment from the Ferrari team. Well, there were 2 crashes on Friday morning at Imola, 2 significant crashes, as a matter of fact. First, Alessandro Nannini had this violent impact, this at Imola. And then Pierluigi Martini also was involved in a crash in Imola on Friday morning. You will see coming up that Pierluigi Martini slides into the wall. Now, he did indeed suffer some injury. He is reported to be suffering from a fractured ankle in this crash, and he is expected to miss a couple of races. Both of his legs were pinned in the crash. It's reported to be that he will be out of action for a few weeks. Now, for more on this and other stories, you can see the Grand Prix from San Marino tomorrow morning beginning at 8:30 Eastern Time. And now here's a look at how they'll line up for that race tomorrow. Time trials at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway has been rained out. Rained almost all day here. It's raining very hard now here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Weather better, however, for tomorrow. Well, the California Racing Association is making its Midwest Spring, but it's nearing an end. Last night's race and tonight's race in Knoxville, Iowa were both rained out. They'll try it again tomorrow night.
Tuesday night, the non-wing sprint cars were in Danville, Illinois, the home of former CRA champion and Indy 500 participant Bubby Jones. Bubby used to be a barber in Danville before he decided to let his hair down and become one of the first of the barnstorming outlaws. Speaking of outlaws, Steve Kinzer won the most recent CRA race at Eldora without a wing. And now Jack Hewitt is going to try it without a steering wheel? Jones' homecoming started out on a sour note when his son Tony in a TQ went up and over in a heat race. His only injury was a cracked jaw. And then later on, after launching himself over a competitor's wheel, Rick Ambrose goes for a ride in and out of turn 4. He was okay. Even though the CRA drivers aren't at familiar Ascot Park, they still try like heck to back it in just like they do at home out west. And to others, the phrase, "Go west, young man," can be hard to figure out without a compass. In the feature, Bobby started 7th, but used the inside groove to his advantage, eventually passing number 1, Ron Schumann, to take a crowd-pleasing win.
Well, Bubby Jones was one of those who came to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway from sprint cars. Now, several have tried but failed, and perhaps the most notable of those, Ralph Liguori, who came to the Speedway as a rookie back in 1959. The closest Ralphie came to making the field was in 1963 when he was the second alternate. Where is he now? Well, Gary Lee has the answer. Gary?
Well, Bob, after a 5-year sabbatical, Ralphie the racer is back in a race car. The 63-year-old veteran from Tampa, Florida, was last competitive 5 years ago when he was running and winning in sprint cars. But since his career began back in 1949, he says now he can say he's competed in 6 decades.
It's just something I wanted to do. I've been hanging around 5 years and watching all the other guys run, and I thought, I'm just not happy. So I talked to old Bud Wadley in here to give me a couple of rides, and now I really got the bug again. I want to go racing.
You've been at the Speedway all week. Are there some melancholy feelings, some bittersweet feelings for what has happened in your career? You were so successful in midgets and sprints, and the stock cars, the championship cars, but the cards were never there for the Speedway. How do you feel about that now?
Well, they weren't there, and I gave it my best shot, so I have nothing to worry about. I just tried as hard as I could to get the job done. There were times when it was equipment failure, and there were times when it was brain fade, you know. But I tried as hard as I could, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. I'm just happy that I could do it.
Although Ralphie had mechanical problems both last week and this week, he proved he can still drive a race car. And in his condition, who knows? He may be around for his 7th decade of racing competition. For Speedweek, from the Indianapolis Speedrome, I'm Gary Lee.
Thank you, Gary. Mel Kenyon, by the way, was the winner of the feature race last night. Now, some of the other drivers who have competed for 6 decades, well, Lynn Duncan and Herschel McGriff, who still competes regularly in the Winston West division. We'll be back with more Speed Week in a moment. And joining us, Jerry Punch, making it back from the garage area where you talk with Rick Mears. You're sort of a newcomer to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, having spent most of your time in NASCAR land, but boy, I'm telling you, we're going to have a terrific day tomorrow. I know the weather's going to be nice, and it's going to be terrific.
If you tried the script qualifying, Bob, you really couldn't do it any better than this. Emerson Fittipaldi will be the first car to go out to qualify. He will give him something to shoot at tomorrow, followed about 8 or 9 cars later by Rick Mears. Then later on in the day, a long time, we'll have to wait for Al Unser Jr. to go out, A.J. Foyt, you know, a number of the guys here, Ari Lyondike, that have run so well, Bobby Rahal, Sneva, those guys will run late in the day, so it'll be like a storybook ending possibly to qualifying tomorrow, and I can't wait.
I don't know about you, but I don't think they're even going to come close to 228 miles an hour.
I don't know. Some of the people in the Penske pits think that it's going to be cool tomorrow, around 65 degrees, so maybe a perfect day for qualifying.
Well, we will look forward to qualifying, and we'll have all the action at 5 o'clock on Eastern Time. Thanks for joining us here on Speedway Week, live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll see you next week here live once again. So long, everyone.
Speed Week has been brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name.